There is a big battery U-turn at Porsche, Daimler and Opel following the steps of Tesla and trying to make their own batteries. These are the reasons the car makers decided to start producing battery cells. Welcome back, dear friends. This is Armen Harayan from TorqueNews.com. If you are here for the first time, please subscribe to our channel for daily Tesla news and ring the bell so you don't miss my next electric vehicle coverage, and give us thumbs up, please. We would greatly appreciate that. Philipp Kaletta from Business Insider's German edition is talking about the U-turn that Porsche, Daimler and Opel are making when it comes to batteries, and shows the reasons why these car makers are following Tesla steps, trying to make their own batteries. Here are the highlights. When it comes to battery cells, German car manufacturers have made themselves dependent on Asian industry giants such as CATL and LG Chem in recent years, just like Tesla, in part because Tesla also has partnership with Panasonic and also is going to make its own batteries at Giga Berlin and also in Gigafactory Austin. Now, however, Porsche, Opel, Daimler, the maker of Mercedes-Benz, want to take over the production of the elementary components themselves, of the battery elementary components themselves, and mostly in Germany. This is they're making U-turn. Several reasons have led to this rethinking. On the one hand, there is still great potential for improvement in the battery cells that German manufacturers want to use for themselves, and they can. In addition, the electricity storage in an electric vehicle accounts for 40% of the added value. The auto expert Stefan Bratzel finds it incomprehensible that the high-ranking managers are only now addressing the issue. Weren't they looking at Tesla for a long time? In addition, the Europeans failed to secure strategic raw materials 10 years ago like Tesla did. Therefore, the dependence on the Chinese will continue to exist regardless of what the battery cells are manufactured or actually where they are manufactured. So Kaletta says for most European car manufacturers, the battery has played a rather subordinate role in electric car in recent years. The managers took the topic lightly for a long time and bought the battery cells, or in some cases even the entire power storage system, from Asian suppliers such as CATL and LG Chem. Both are Tesla vehicle battery suppliers. Instead of taking the development and production of these elementary components into their own hands, the focus was instead on the classic automotive disciplines. This has not only resulted in overwhelming market power, but also in great dependence on Chinese and South Korean producers. In view of the current rapidly increasing market share of all electric cars, as well as the associated increase in production volume, the corporate executives have to rethink their battery strategy. No wonder, after all, the German manufacturers have set themselves ambitious goals in the transformation to electric mobility. For example, Audi announced in mid-June that no new combustion engines would be developed as early as 2026, and that the last gasoline or diesel with the 4 rings in the grille would leave the factory in 2033. Since millions of battery-powered cars will soon roll off the production line in this country every year, Volkswagen, Daimler want to ensure that the most important and most expensive components of the Stromer will also come from domestic production in the future. So this bodes well with our previous thinking that gas cars will gradually phase out within a decade or 13-14 years. Now, Stefan Bratzel from the Center of Automotive Management in Bergisch Gladbach considers this to be a long overdue step by German car makers to make a U-turn to build or to manufacture their own batteries. He says, just a few years ago, the car bosses said that the battery was a mere commodity that could be bought. That was and is nonsense. The new bosses at the levers of the car manufacturers see it that way too. The auto expert told Business Insider, domestic production makes sense, especially from an economic point of view. The battery is the most expensive part of the electric car. It accounts for around 40% of the total costs. Their share of the added value is correspondingly high. At the same time, Stefan Bratzel sees great potential for improvement in the field of electricity storage system, which German manufacturers who are known for their inventive talent can make use of. The battery will probably be one of the most important advantages or disadvantages in the competition. In their in-house production, German car makers can significantly increase quality through innovation, concludes the expert. Now, Porsche develops innovative high-performance cells. Apparently, Porsche has also recognized this potential. That is why the traditional brand, together with the specialists from custom cells from Itzehoe, founded the Salesforce Group, which I reported a couple of days ago, a joint venture with headquarters in Tübingen, which is supposed to develop high-performance battery cells. The end product is to be manufactured near the main plant in Zuffenhausen from 2024 and used in racing vehicles and small series models such as potential future supercars. These applications call for special cell chemistry that has to meet other extreme requirements than a cell for the volume segment when it comes to the development of high-performance battery cells. Porsche relies on the principle of success from motorsport to series production. From the well-known suppliers on the world market are such special cells as we needed, not available today. Battery cells with silicon anodes are an innovative innovation with game-changing potential. Porsche's goal is to be at the forefront of the global competition for the most powerful battery cell. We secure our global competitiveness in our technological lead, explains Porsche at the request of Business Insider. And like I said, reported previously, the Porsche's quantities is not big, and they will make only, I believe, 1,000 batteries for their race car, but this will help Porsche to learn how to make great batteries for great cars. And then they can increase the output to meet mass market production. Even more important for the Stuttgart region, however, is likely to be that Daimler has also changed its plans when it comes to batteries. The CEO, Ola Galunius, wanted to do without his own cell production for a long time and instead strengthened the cooperation with the Far Eastern industry giant CATL from China, a Tesla supplier, as well as having the cells produced by the American-Chinese partner Farasis in Bitterfeld in Saxony-Anhalt from 2022. However, the construction of the German Farasis plant is delayed, and the quality of the first sample cells is associated to insider reports being disastrous. Business Insider has now learned from corporate circles that Daimler would like to take care of the production of the essential and sometimes future critical components itself. However, more detailed information about the plans of the Stuttgart company is not yet known. Now let's take a look at the Volkswagen, which is planning 6 European gigafactories, learning it from Tesla as well. For the volume models, Porsche will rely on the planned unit cells of the Volkswagen Group for cost reasons alone. As part of the Power Day, the Wolfsburg-based company Volkswagen announced in March that a total of 6 gigafactories should be built in Europe by 2027. That's almost 1 gigafactory per year. The concept is not only reminiscent of the electric pioneer Tesla by chance. After all, it's no secret that Volkswagen CEO Herbert Diess respects Tesla CEO Elon Musk very much and is sometimes inspired by his strategy. They have good relationship going on. The factories are expected to produce a total of an impressive 240 gigawatt hour annually. Each plant contributes 40 gigawatt hour within 12 months by mass production of the cells. The cost per kilowatt hour should be able to be reduced to below $100. Of course, the elementary components should also be manufactured in Germany. Tesla's Gigafactory Berlin's battery factory will start with 50 gigawatt hours and will grow to 250 gigawatt hour strength once it reaches its capacity, thus becoming the world's largest battery factory. Now let's take a look at Opel, which will in future be supplied from Kaiserslautern. Opel's partner company, Stellantis, which emerged from the merger of PSA and Fiat Chrysler, founded the automotive sales company joint venture with Total subsidiary Saft last September, which pursues very similar goals. Like most of its competitors, the European-American auto giant is currently getting its sales from the Far East. Also, from 2025, however, these should come from two new in-house gigafactories. So far, Douvrin in northern France and Kaiserslautern in Rheinhard-Palatinate have been chosen as production sites. The three production blocks of the German plant alone are expected to deliver 24 gigawatt-hour and lithium-ion batteries for a total of 500,000 electric cars annually. So you can see 24 gigawatt hours is half of what Tesla is doing and what Volkswagen is will do for a company. But it's still something. 24 gigawatt hours and lithium-ion batteries will power 500,000 cars annually. In the distant future, the construction of further factories is being considered, which according to Opel should produce up to 250 gigawatt hours per year. That's already very sizable, friends. Stellantis has several locations in North America and Europe in mind, according to reports. Italy should also be under discussion, so don't be surprised if you see batteries coming also from Italy. Of course, cell production in Europe also has the potential to slightly reduce the often criticized CO2 backpack of power storage systems. After all, the environmental standards are usually higher and the factories can sometimes only be operated with electricity from renewable energies. In addition, the important components no longer have to be shipped halfway around the globe from Far East or China. However, this positive side effect is diminished by the fact that a large part of the raw materials required for production are still refined and processed in China. So European battery companies need to find out where they're going to get their batteries raw materials. This is why you probably have seen Tesla buying aggressively raw materials. Now, despite this missed opportunity, Thomas Puls believes that it will be crucial for the further that the German manufacturers set up their own production facilities. In an electric vehicle, battery cells can be a way of differentiating the existing brand from the overall market. In the case of internal combustion engines, this is the engine. I see that particularly in the current Porsche project, which apparently concerns the power output capacity of the cells. Professor Maximilian Fletcher, the deputy director of Helmholtz Institute in Ulm and one of the leading experts in the field of battery research, nevertheless assumes that the change to electric mobility will ultimately be good for Germany and for Europe as a business location. Major reluctance to develop into the boom country in electromobility and the central research and production location for batteries and electric vehicles in Europe. Nowhere are there more new factories under construction or planned, and nowhere are sales going better. Of course, there will be a shift and classic jobs in the combustion engine sector will be eliminated, but if Tesla alone is planning to hire 40,000 new employees in Grünheide at Giga Berlin, then we shouldn't be worried. What do you think, friends? Let me know, please, your thoughts about this big U-turn that the top German car companies like Porsche, Daimler, and Opel, and also Volkswagen are making by making their own batteries. In the meantime, this is Armin Harayan from TorqueNews.com. Have a great day, everybody. Please subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you don't miss my next electric vehicle coverage, which are coming daily. And I'll see you soon in our next report. I would greatly appreciate if you would give us thumbs up and share in social media so everybody sees these stories and get excited about electric mobility, electric vehicles, and clean air for our environment.